Welcome to the Randy Gravitt Leadership Podcast, where we help you lead the hardest person you will ever lead, yourself. Here's your host, someone who believes leadership begins at home, Randy Gravitt.
I couldn't be happier today that we have Scott Morgan joining our weekly conversation. Scott has been a friend for over 2 decades now.
Yeah.
We've been hanging out. We had a great weekend. We just played some golf this weekend. Been together the last few days, and now here we are Friday, ready for a conversation to help leaders lead themselves. I think the hardest person you'll ever lead is yourself. And so we're just trying to help people do that. And man, I couldn't think of anybody better to have help us than you today. So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much, man.
It's going to be great.
It's definitely a pleasure to be here.
It's going to be good.
Appreciate it.
So Scott, just a little bit of backstory, and then I want you to dive in and kind of tell us the story. But
yeah,
Scott is one of the coaches on our, I haven't really talked a lot about this, but one of the things that we have going on is we have this company called InteGREAT Leadership, and Scott's one of our lead coaches for our company. And man, you're helping people all over the place from Chick-fil-A. You work with a lot of their owner operators. Yep. You work with nonprofits. You work in the healthcare people. You've coached them. I mean, just all kind of industries.
Yeah.
You're getting a chance to add a lot of value to people. So it's really, really cool. Been with us for a couple years now, and so it's really great.
Absolutely.
Other stuff going on. Scott lives up in Lexington, and you helped one of my kids get through school up there in the Bluegrass State.
She stayed with us for a couple months.
That probably killed you because you're a Louisville fan, right?
We are. We're Louisville fans through and through.
You put up with a Wildcat there. So anyway, thanks again for being here. And I want to just jump into it. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your story and tell us about your family too, because that's always important for us to get a little bit of your backstory. So kick us off, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Appreciate the invite. It's huge. So like you said, we live up in Lexington. I've been married to my beautiful wife, Leah, for 21 years. I think we've got a great marriage. You'll have to ask her what she thinks.
That's right.
You know, she may have a different perspective, but
it's probably a lot harder on her than it is you.
That's right. A lot harder.
For sure.
Harder. We've got 4 kids. We've got 18-year-old right now, 15-year-old, 13-year-old, and 11-year-old. Peyton, Jaden, Ella, and Tanner. And just couldn't be happier. You know, it's a great season right now for us, and just the opportunity to spend, you know, some extra time with them right now with what we've got going on. But yeah, just love my family dearly, and absolutely love Central Kentucky. It's a beautiful area, horse country, as you know.
Yeah.
Just love it.
That's good. So I want to start there in the horse country. And this is kind of a crazy question, but I know you guys this last year have just built a new home.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of a good place to jump off because you were at a point where y'all needed a little bit more room, a little more capacity, you know, for your family, growing family, all this kind of stuff going on, real fun stuff. And you build this home, you move in on March 1st, and 2 weeks later, a global pandemic hits the world, which you couldn't have predicted and had no way of knowing. And yet I think there are leaders out there who are listening who sometimes they're almost like, what could go wrong? And it paralyzes them. They're not willing to make decisions they know they need to make.
Sure.
What would you say to somebody out there who's got capacity issues and, you know, what kind of led to some of your decision about your home, and connect some dots for us? You know, you're a coach. Help us think through some of the things that we might be able to learn from your circumstances there in your new home.
Yeah. Well, we purchased a piece of land up in Lexington several years ago.
Okay.
And when we purchased it, we're trying to name it. Every horse farm up there and every good sized piece of land, it's 11 acres, has a name.
And everybody's got their name.
Yeah. So the very first name I thought about was Acres of Hope, and had no idea what that meant. But I just knew that we wanted to provide a place for our family, but also for others as well, that would just be a refuge for them.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what it has become. like you said, we moved in March 1st, and probably mid-March, it became a refuge. It became a place where we really, really had to center around hope, and hope for the present and also hope for the future. And that's what it's been for us, man. That's what it's been for us. As you know, we mentor some kids as well.
Yeah, I want you to get into that, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we've got those kiddos coming over. We've got about 5 or 6 young men that I mentor along with my family, and there's much a part of our family as really my own kids, and we just do life together. So it's just been a fantastic place for us to really just do life together. Yeah, and it's just been great. Been great.
One of the things I say, Scott, is, you've heard me say this a bunch, but I always say leadership begins at home. And I think you guys have really modeled this well. I know through the years you've fostered, as parent, you and Leah have fostered kids, and
sure have,
and adopted a couple of kids, and just you guys have really lived out what it means to begin at home from the whole family perspective. What got you into that, and what made you, what got you guys interested in fostering, and tell us a little bit about that experience, how that's challenged you, helped you, blessed you, whatever.
Yeah, well, man, for me, it goes back to childhood. It really does. I grew up with a great mom who worked 2 jobs to support our family, but really an absentee father. He left when I was around 12 years old, and just abandoned his responsibilities. And so, if I knew one thing about my life and about when I had family, when I had kids of my own, I knew one thing for sure: I wanted to be there for them. I wanted to care for them. And so we had our first 2 kids, Tanner and Ella, and Leah came home one day and she said, "Hey," she says, "we've got this house, and we've got this was at our old house, but she said, we've got this house and we've got some extra space. We need to start praying about foster care." And so we started praying about that, and the Lord led us to a couple children, 2 of which still live with us.
Yeah.
And are
they've become part of the
they're
family
us,
now.
Man. they're Morgans through and through.
Yeah, you've adopted them, and they're a beauty. So that's great.
They may not look like us on the outside, but they're crazy. They're chaotic, just like our family. And then beyond that, really, just looking at the kids that we mentor as well. We just really, for me, I think it's important to love and care for your family. Yeah. And that really, that's got to be where it starts. Yeah. It has to be where it starts. That's got to be the priority. Yeah. And even though we don't always do that well, we don't always do that perfect,
it's still a priority.
Yeah. We get that right more often than not.
Yeah. That's good.
Sure.
So there are people who are listening that are, and I'll be the first in line to tell you that if you're married or if you have a family, there are going to be, you said it's not always going to be perfect. It's going to be challenging. And
for sure,
Laura and I are over 30 years now, and you can't go 20 years, 30 years, whatever, without there being challenging days, hard days. You parent kids. Yeah. Ours are grown and out of the house now, and yours are getting closer, obviously. But there are going to be these ups and downs. What do you say to the leader out there who finds himself right now feeling like they're doing really well at work, but they're losing at home? And I always say, if you win at work and you lose at home, you actually still lose. Absolutely. So you got a reminder or a challenge or anything out there for any of us who are listening that we maybe have lost our priority at home a little bit? What would you say to that leader?
Yeah, I think the main thing I would say is just what you said. It really is about prioritizing what's most important. Mm-hmm. And there are times that I feel like I'm in a great rhythm and I do get that right. But there are also times that I've got to check myself. Yeah. And we've got to check ourselves. You know, there's a lot of opportunities to distract you in this world from what's most important. And as you know, we were just talking about this last night. It goes quick, man. You know, it
really
goes
does.
quick. Yeah. And I'm watching my oldest, my 18-year-old. He's a senior in high school. You know, he's my right-hand man.
Yeah.
He's been there for a long time, but you know, he's already got his college picked down. He's headed
ready
out
to go
next year. And you know, just soaking in those moments and taking the opportunity to really do life with your kids is huge. It's important.
So on Monday's podcast this week, I talked about the idea of urgency and how when we understand the importance of urgency, it actually can help us level up in our leadership versus this idea of complacency, which can actually drag us down. And as you talk about your family and some of those things, those priorities at home, or the priority at home, really, talk about urgency. I mean, you it's kind of built in for you with Tanner. I mean, you know this date's coming. He's a senior. But what happens for somebody who's got a fourth grader and they don't really realize maybe how quickly things are going to go, or you know, you got even a brand new baby and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, well, we've got all this time, and it does go really fast as you're talking about. Talk about the power of urgency, not just at home, but also at work.
Absolutely.
Just give us a little bit on that.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you know, as you know, like I said, life throws a lot at you, you know, and you've got a choice every day you wake up. You've got a choice to be proactive, or you've got a choice to be reactive. You know, we talk about it when we train. You've got carnival games, the whack-a-mole, you know, you just show up and you're just putting fires out, whacking, you know, it's not a good approach. It's not a good approach. You know, when you get up in the morning, you got to decide what you're going to do with your day. You know, who are you going to live into? What relationships are most important? You know, what priorities do you have both at home and in the workplace? You know, and I think for me, I think what it comes down to is this, the importance of that relationship that you have with that person. I mean, it's everything. It really is.
So
I want my kids, I just want my kids to look back, and I want them to realize, and I want them to know in their heart that they weren't a distraction. That they were
the focus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know.
So one of your kids, Ella, I think last year, this was, I mean, we've used this so much. It's been really helpful. But Ella picked up archery, right? She starts doing archery. And
she did.
And I was just so powerful when you came in the first time and drew the whole archery target. Will you kind of unpack that a little bit for us and talk about the difference in being sporadic versus strategic? We talk about it all the time. But, you know, if there's somebody out there that's kind of playing whack-a-mole, flying by the seat of their pants, share this picture with them and unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So, so what I shared with you, she joined the archery team at school, and this was actually 2 years ago now. She joined the archery team, and I went to one of her first matches, and I don't know anything about archery. I know you get the bow, you get the arrow, you get all this stuff, you get the target. And I was sitting there thinking about what she was trying to do, and I just said to her, I said, hey, what's the goal here? She's like, Dad, the goal is to hit the center of the target. And I'm like, yeah, that makes complete sense. But sometimes as they're releasing the arrows, they're just kind of all over the target. You go to a high school match, sometimes they're off the target and they're all over the place. And
hoping they're not hitting their parents or whatever.
Absolutely. Or their little brother or
whatever,
sister.
exactly.
Yeah. So as I was sitting there, I was thinking about our lives. And what she shared with me is that she said, you know, you get points if you hit the target.
Right.
You know, on the outside part of it, you get points. But the maximum amount of points is there in the center. So you've got to be intentional.
That bullseye.
Absolutely. You've got to be intentional about that aim. And the parallels of that in our lives.
So powerful.
And even leadership. You know, It's that bullseye.
Yeah.
Because you may have all of these things around you,
Yeah.
on the outside of that target that
Yeah.
seem important.
Yeah.
But what is it that's most important? What's your bullseye?
Yeah. And we work with all these companies and all these leaders, and you're coaching them all the time. And we see that they are, they're getting points for being sporadic. I mean, they get it right on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday afternoon, they get it right again. But when they get real strategic and they really focus, and they've got a team that's, as we talk about in execution, trying to do the right thing the right way every time.
Yep.
And they've got systems and processes in place. It really does become a force multiplier, and we're seeing them make tremendous amounts of profit, impact, all kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. And what it means, and I share this all the time in coaching. We're looking at that target. We're looking at that bullseye in two ways.
Yeah.
We're looking at that personally. That's where your family is.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in right relationship with your family?
Mm-hmm.
Are you in right relationship with yourself?
Right.
So that bullseye is personally, but it's also professionally.
Yeah, that's good.
Definitely.
So you talk about being in right relationship with yourself, and I know we've had these conversations, but one of the things that happened when March hit was you took some inventory of some areas of your life, and I think we all have to do that all the time. We talk about this all the time. This idea of assessing, like, where am I? I have to start there. I don't have to stay there. And let's talk a little bit about what has happened physically for you this last year. Because there've been some big changes, right?
Huge changes.
Yeah.
So as you said, we moved into the house at the beginning of March, and one of my just to be transparent, one of my go-tos throughout my entire life, even as a kid, was this unhealthy emotional connection with food. I'd eat when I was happy. I'd eat when I was sad. I'd eat when it was offered to me. Just nonstop.
Yeah.
And it became unhealthy for years.
Yeah.
Years. And I'm 6'5".
Yeah.
But at the beginning of COVID, I didn't creep up. I landed around 350, 345. And there was a book I read by David Goggins. He's a Navy SEAL. And I get into that book a little bit. And basically he said, he talked a lot about intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about the importance of setting goals, and not only setting goals, because we're great at setting goals.
Yeah. I mean you knew all along the importance of this. It wasn't like this was a new revelation, but keep going.
I'm coaching people.
Right. You're helping.
Training
you're helping
people,
everybody.
I'm
Exactly.
Speaking. I'm telling people, hey, the importance of setting goals.
Yeah.
But this area in my life around my health was completely out of balance, completely out of whack. And let me just tell you, man, this pandemic at the beginning did not help at all, at all. I think I was eating everything in sight. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't active.
Yeah.
I was cooped up in the house. I wasn't traveling. And I had a lot of time to reflect. But I read that book, and he's got a part in that book, and he talks about the accountability mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And what he basically says is, he says, every day look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself the truth.
Yeah. Because
we're really good at giving other people the impression that we're fine.
Yeah.
You say it all the time. So, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And, I'm fine. I'm good. Everything's good. When really you could be hurting inside. You could be dying inside.
Yeah.
And so I took a look at myself physically in the mirror, and I just told myself the truth. I had a hard conversation.
Yeah, and I want to pause you there, because you were sharing this with me last week, and I thought this was really powerful. That, and I know this to be true about you. You always keep your word to everybody else. You always tell everybody else the truth. But as you said, you had been not keeping your promise to yourself, and when you got to that revelation. Yeah, dude. It's been crazy to watch over the last 6 months.
Yeah, and I do try to keep my word, my commitment for sure
to everybody else.
Yeah, and one of the things I would say after 21 years of marriage, I can honestly say there's been a lot of ups and downs, but the the primary challenge, the primary issue has been my weight and my health. And
yeah, because you have other people depending on you, right?
Oh,
and not just yourself.
Yeah. And my wife has said, she said to me dozens of times over the years, she doesn't want to raise the kids alone.
Yeah.
She doesn't want me to drop dead of a heart attack and die.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at myself in that mirror and reflecting on who I was, I wasn't honoring my commitment to her.
Yeah.
I wasn't honoring my commitment to my family, and I certainly wasn't honoring my commitment to God to care for myself.
Yeah.
And so I had to change. I had to change.
I want to get to a little bit of what you're doing in just a second. But before I do, so there are people out there listening who they give, and you're certainly that guy. It's easy, isn't it, to just give to everybody else and not take care of yourself?
Oh, it's very easy.
Will you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I've learned, especially during this pandemic, I've learned that, the most important person that you need to care for is yourself.
Yeah, that's what we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
This self-leadership thing.
Absolutely.
It's hard to lead others if you can't really have your own stuff.
Yeah.
Self.
And what I realized is it's not necessarily perfection, but it's definitely not giving out a depletion.
Yeah.
My tank was empty.
Yeah.
And I was giving to others.
Yeah.
And I was serving others.
Yeah.
And I was prioritizing others. But really, if my tank wasn't empty, it was close.
Yeah.
It was close. And someone was going to give one way or the other.
Yeah. And so, this is really cool what you've done. You started showing up and you just, call it hard, doing hard, whatever you want to call it. But man, I'm telling you what, it has been incredible to watch over these last few months. So tell us what you're doing. I know you've lost over 50 pounds. You're on this journey. You're headed, but it's not been like some crazy fast thing. It's been a sustained thing. And I want you to talk about the power of choices too, because I watched this last weekend when we were gone last weekend.
Yeah.
You just kept making these good choices. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Health-wise. You kept making you missed a few of those putts, but
yeah.
but
I did.
Talk to us about the power of those choices. And you said to me that the healthy choice is the wisest choice. It really does come down to some choices.
Yeah. So, just to put some real numbers behind it, like I said at the beginning of COVID, I was around 345. Right now I'm sitting around 295.
Yeah.
And what got me there was looking not even necessarily to each day, but just getting up and looking at each step, each meal. I told a guy this morning, I said, it's about literally for me one meal, but it's about one bite at a time. And what am I putting into my body, and am I prioritizing my own self-care so that I can in fact be there for my family, so I can be there for others, and really so I can live my best life.
Yeah.
And it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah.
It's not over yet. I've still got 50 to go. That's my goal.
Yeah.
But I will say this, one of the best principles that I applied is I knew it had to be that one step at a time. So what I did, instead of looking at that 100 pounds and, looking at it, for an indefinite amount of time, I started with 25. I started with the number 25. I said, I'm not going to do this for 100 days. I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. For the next 25 days, I'm going to make some decisions that are going to benefit me, from a healthy perspective.
Yeah.
And at the end of that 25 days, this is like I think I'm on my 6th or 7th 25-day cycle now.
Yeah.
But what I'm
doing. So you're
doing,
just biting, sizing it down,
absolutely.
Not to be funny, but
yeah,
in the 25 days,
yeah,
at a time. And that's been the key.
Yeah, that has been the key. That has been the key. And really what that's done for me is that gives me a light at the end of the tunnel. And in 25 days, that's less than a month.
Yeah.
You can do just about anything for less than a month. And so for me, at the end of those 25-day cycles, what I've done is I've done 3 things. I've said, okay, what are you going to retain? What are you going to keep doing? What are you going to revise? What are you going to change?
Okay.
What are you going to alter? And then what are you going to retire? What are you going to stop doing?
Yeah.
So like, for instance, I just hit my next 25-day cycle, and I work with a health coach.
Yeah.
I hired a health coach and a trainer just a few weeks ago. And her words to me, my health coach, her words to me about Coke Zero, which I think Coke Zero is a definitely a blessing from the Lord. She said it's poison.
Yeah.
She said, stop drinking it.
Yeah.
Stop drinking it. So I did.
Mm.
I quit drinking it.
Yeah.
She said, stop putting creamer and sugar in your coffee. Start drinking it black.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah.
And just those two decisions alone may not be, overwhelmingly significant, but that's one step.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Just
that's
keep taking
one
steps.
change. Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 So.
That's really good. So, you talked about it being, it's not over, and you talked about it being a journey, but one of the things that I've noticed is again, we've talked a lot, and I've kind of watched this. It feels like, and especially just spending a lot, you can't, when you spend time with people and you're with them every day, you see what they do, and it feels like it's just become part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's, so talk about some of the benefits of making the right choice, whether it's health or anything else. Your confidence is higher, you feel better, your energy, I mean, all those things, right? I mean, are part of it. We talk to people all the time about being fit to lead.
Yeah.
Talk about, if whether it's our weight is, not where it's supposed to be, or our rest or our hydration or whatever, there are consequences to that, correct? If we don't do the right thing.
Oh yeah. I sleep better.
Yeah.
I feel better. When I have an appointment, I have a coaching appointment, or I have an opportunity to speak with someone, whatever the case may be, I just have more confidence.
Yeah.
And my wife's happier, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
If mama's not happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's happy.
Yeah.
She sees me, cutting weight. But it's important for my kids too.
Yeah.
I think if I'm gonna have the opportunity, if I'm gonna share with others, what they need to do to improve their lives, I've got to look at my life on.
Got to
all
be
facets.
modeling it. Yeah.
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 I got to be modeling it.
Yeah.
And again, it's not about perfection. That's one thing people don't understand about development, about growth. It really is not about perfection. It's about excellence. Because there's absolutely no grace in perfection.
Right.
You're either perfect or you're not.
Right.
It's either right or wrong.
Right.
It's very black and white. With excellence, when you're pursuing excellence,
Right.
there's grace in that.
Right.
So
it's about the progress. It's about the steps. It's
Sure.
about, that's
Sure.
good.
So if I get up tomorrow morning and not planning on doing this, but if I have a glazed donut, I have a glazed donut.
Right.
I have that. I move on. But it's about pursuing that excellence.
Yeah.
Versus
You hadn't had a glazed
perfection.
donut in a long time, though.
I have not. I don't plan on it.
That's right.
I don't plan on it, man.
That's so good.
I've had a lot of glazed donuts over the years, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Or not so good, I guess. So you mentioned the Navy SEAL book. One of the things that I encourage people to do is read. And I know you're a reader. You got some, people are asking me all the time, hey, what are you reading? What can I read if I'm trying to grow myself? Talk about some of the books maybe through the years that have helped you maybe lately.
Yeah.
Anything that you'd.
Well, definitely all the books you've written.
And even, please.
Right?
Yeah.
Seriously.
and even talk about really the importance of reading and in as far as self-leadership goes.
Sure. Yeah. And there's, when I evaluate myself, one of the areas that I look at when I set goals and I determine what is my bullseye, one of the bullseyes I have is intellectual. Years and years ago, I think it was true at Kathy from Chick-fil-A, leaders are readers, right? And you could say that in any number of different ways.
Yeah.
You are what you read.
Yeah.
So what I think it does for me is it stretches me, it grows me. I've got a book right now sitting on my shelf. I think it's called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
Have no idea what it's going to be about.
Yeah.
Saw a little ad for it. Excited to read it.
Yeah.
But the book that I told you about by Goggins, Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah.
That has been, for me, one of the best books that I've ever read, because he is no nonsense, straightforward, hardcore. I mean, Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels between my life and his. He was overweight. He basically said enough's enough.
Yeah.
And he went out and he went after it. And he
Yeah.
is a bad man.
Bad man.
I mean, he is a bad man.
Yeah.
But that's been a book that I've absolutely loved.
Yeah.
And I ate that up. Another book, leadership-wise, is the book we discussed earlier today, The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Yep. I just read that this last year as well.
Yeah. What Sinek talks in there about is he talks about the importance of investing in leaders today, but also focusing on leaders of tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
And so it's not just we don't play
the
this
goal
game.
in business is not to win the game, but to keep the game going.
Exactly.
To have this impact down the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's great.
And so you can take that, and I looked at that from a business perspective. I mean, we work with a lot of business leaders, a lot of fantastic owners, operators, business leaders, and that applies in business. But doesn't that apply in life as well?
Yeah.
You know, I want my son to lead his family well.
Yeah.
Or my sons, but I want them to lead their families well. You know, not just in the short term, but for the long haul.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just vital. It's vital.
Do you think there's value? It sounds like you think there's value in reading widely. I mean, you're reading Matthew McConaughey. You got a Navy SEAL. You got a business book. You got. I know you've read a fitness book. You know, fitness stuff this year. Like you, that's a pretty broad perspective.
Sure.
And we work with a lot of executives that need a lot of, they got to think broadly.
Yep.
There's power in reading widely, I think.
Sure.
Wouldn't you agree?
Sure. Yeah. And, not just staying with the mainstream, not just staying with what's most popular.
Yeah. You're reading a marketing book right now. I mean,
that's right. Donald Miller.
Yeah. You're reading all kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah. And I think what it does for you is, you may not agree with everything, but I think there's principles, and I think there's principles that you can apply in just about everything you read.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm trying to lead myself, and reading is great, but like, what are some other things I can do to grow myself? I know you met with you this morning, went and had breakfast with a leader. Like, what are, give me some other things that you do to help yourself grow. Yeah.
Well, we did it this weekend. I mean, we hung out with a fantastic group of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, guys that I didn't know prior to, other than you.
Yeah.
And so, it is who you hang out with.
Yeah.
Life is who you hang out with.
Yeah. We have our old buddy, John Orr, who always says that your friends determine the quality and direction of your life. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get around great people.
I get around these young guys, and and I feel like 21 years is a pretty good run for marriage.
Yeah.
I get excited about that, and can't believe she has stuck with me that long.
Yeah.
Stuck by my side, but 21 years is a long time. And so I'll get around some of these young guys, and they'll ask me, what's it take to get to 21 years? What's it take to get 30 plus years?
Yeah.
And I
think
think
patient wife's what it takes to get 33 years.
Really patient wives.
For sure.
But, I tell them all the time, hang out with guys who make you better.
Yeah.
Don't hang out with guys who bring you down.
Yeah.
Don't hang out with guys who badmouth their wives.
Yeah.
Or talk about their wives in a negative sense.
Yeah.
Or do things that aren't honoring to their family or to their marriage. Basically be with guys who make you better.
Yeah.
And that's what I've tried to do.
Yeah.
And I've tried to be that for other people as well.
Yeah.
So it is who you hang out with, like John says.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. Okay, so let me kind of shift gears here. Here we are in the middle of November. You talked about urgency. One of the things I've been talking about the last few days is that I mean, it's crazy. I've been around a few people who are, 2020's over. I'm just ready to punt it, and let's move on. But 6 weeks is more than 10% of the year is left.
Right.
We got a chance to really finish here these next few weeks. What would you say to that guy who's just kind of melded in, that woman who's just like checked out and like, I'm just ready to move on to the next year? And honestly, we're ready for a great year. We got cool stuff planned. We're doing a course, 21 days to your best year ever. I hope everybody's going to, get that. It's going to be fantastic. I'm excited about 2021, but there's some good weeks left in this year. Talk about the importance of not mailing it in, but finishing, not just long term, but this year.
6 weeks, 7 weeks, there's still opportunity.
Yeah.
There's opportunity to invest in yourself. There's opportunity to invest in the people around you. There's opportunity to evaluate. A lot of people, when the new year starts, they start talking about New Year's resolutions. And what I'd love to see is people make life resolutions.
Yeah.
Like make changes that are going to last.
Yeah.
And not just, like that whole January 1, I'm going to go to the gym. And by January 4th, you're eating Krispy Kremes, like with glazed donuts and stuff.
Yeah.
But it really is, it really is important to live each and every day with intentionality.
Yeah.
Pandemic or no pandemic.
Yeah.
November, December, especially as we're moving in the holidays.
Yeah.
You're going to be around, regardless of what's going on in the world right now. Most of us are going to be around family.
Yeah.
And as everyone knows, family can be hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially extended family.
Yeah.
Not me, but other people can be difficult, right?
Yeah.
But living life with intentionality. I think that is, I think that's huge.
Say a little more about that. It's interesting you say assessing where you are or evaluating where you are as you go into the next year. I think back to when we were kids and we're playing football or basketball and there's a season, that's great. But there's also a preseason, right? You're having 2-a-days, you're playing football, you're all these practices and workouts and everything that go. And honestly, a lot of that led to how you handled that led to what kind of season you had.
Yeah.
So these next few weeks really can be powerful and catalytic moving us into 21 if we give some thought to some of those life choices, some of the things that you're talking about. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. In the way we communicate that, the way we share that with the folks we work with, it's really creating a blueprint. You know, when you create a blueprint, like you said earlier, we just built this house.
Yeah.
And the first step for us building this house is creating a blueprint.
Right. You need
what
do
plans. We want? Yeah. So when you create that blueprint, when you draw that up or have somebody draw that up for you, you've got a vision for what your house is going to be like.
Yeah.
Well, why would you not do that with your life?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean, just like when you're building a house, you've got a blueprint. You make adjustments, you make changes. You make, some alterations on that plan.
Yeah.
But you
always have the plan to come back to.
Yeah. And you can look at that. On a daily basis. You can look at it on a weekly basis. We've got a buddy, Scott, who looks at that on a consistent basis. He calls it his scoreboard.
Yeah.
He's got his plan and what he wants to accomplish. And that really helps you center on what's most important for you.
Yeah.
And it's important because that, when you're winning.
Yeah.
If you're accomplishing the things that are on that blueprint.
Yeah.
And so what I would say to leaders, but what I'd say to people in general is, start where you are.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you're going into 2021. It doesn't matter, if it's
middle of June,
July 2021.
exactly.
Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. Start where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing that's important too, Randy, is I share this a lot with leaders and the folks I work with. What we do sometimes in life is we get caught up in what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Or what happened in the past.
Yeah.
We've come through, as a country, as a world, as throughout the world, we've come through a very trying time, and we're not through it yet.
Yeah.
But that can't stop us,
right.
From setting our priorities, from creating that blueprint, from identifying what's most important. And the analogy I use is this with leaders when I talk to them. When you're driving down the road, you've got a rear view mirror and you've got your windshield in front of you. And most of the time, hopefully, you've got your eyes set on what's to come. Yeah. And about 10% of the time, you're looking in the rear view mirror just to check what happened, or what's going on behind you. Yeah. But you gotta keep your eyes forward. Your focus
has got to be out in front of you.
Absolutely. So the way I sum that up with leaders is I say you got to learn from the past, but you got to look to the future.
Yeah, that's
good. And so even going back to my health journey, I made multiple mistakes over the years,
right?
And in multiple areas, and I wasn't doing it right.
Right.
I just wasn't doing it right.
Right.
But I used that. I learned from the past.
Right.
But now what I'm doing is looking to the future.
And you're excited about the future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So over the next few weeks, I want to go back to something you said a minute ago. We do have holidays coming up, and I know Thanksgiving's one of my favorite times of the year.
Oh, that's one of my favorites too.
I just love it. It's so great. It does give you a little extra time with families, but I know we've talked about this before. The leaders we get around who are not just, they say thank you, but the ones who are grateful, the ones who really seem to appreciate what's going on, they just feel like healthier leaders.
Yeah. And
there's a wake of blessing around them. They're helping people. They're creating legacy, as we say. Talk about the power of gratefulness and some of the things, as we go into this next couple of weeks. What are some of the things as a leader, what are some of the things you're grateful for?
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that, one of the primary things would be taking an inventory of what's going on and looking for things. Sometimes life can be challenging, and the challenges of life can blind you from what we need to be thankful for or express gratitude towards. So family, obviously heading into the holidays, can be challenging, like I said, but also being grateful for your family. Just the opportunity. I mean, think about this. There are people every single day who lose their lives. We were just talking at lunch. We were talking about somebody close to us who, had a battle with pneumonia and battle with COVID, almost lost her life. So it's not given that I'm going to wake up tomorrow.
Right.
But if I do wake up tomorrow, what type of attitude am I going to have?
Yeah.
Am I going to have an attitude of gratitude?
Yeah.
And what that does, I think, when you look around and you're grateful for not just the people, but just the life that you get to have, the opportunity to wake up another day. When you wake up with that kind of attitude, really what it does is it sets the course, I think, for you mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
Versus, waking up and just being upset, angry, frustrated about all the things that are going on.
Yeah. It's almost a difference. And you talked about this actually when the pandemic kind of hit and your journey this year, but it's almost a difference in seeing your circumstances the circumstances really don't change, but you can see it either as an obstacle, you just mentioned that, or an opportunity is what you just said. I mean, it's like, and so
that's good.
You've been really good at kind of, you've been doing this as long as I've known you. You've had this positive attitude. You're always going to add value to people. You just have lived that way. And I think there's real value when you value life and when you are grateful. So yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah,
that's really good stuff. So okay, so let me
tell you one thing there, man. So just this morning, I'm down here in Georgia, traveled down here from Kentucky a couple days ago, and I went to see a dear friend this morning and hung out with him for probably an hour. And he's definitely a mentor. He's somebody who's meant a lot. But let me just tell you, I think the best part about today, other than Laura's cooking.
That was good. Lunch was pretty good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I'm spoiled. Man, I just gave him a hug, and I haven't seen him in quite some time, but I gave him a hug, and man, I was just thankful. I was thankful for the investment that he's made in my life.
Yeah.
I was thankful.
Been a friend for 20 plus years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
And
he's
a
awesome.
huge mentor.
Yeah.
Huge mentor for me.
Yeah.
So, that's what we miss. I think that's what we miss sometimes, the relationships.
Yeah.
The having gratitude for the people that are around us.
Yeah. That's good. Well, we're grateful for you. Last question here. If you had one piece of advice for somebody who's listening that is trying to lead themselves, we talk about growing leaders, always grow stuff, and the people who are listening, they really do care about growing something. They're trying to create a legacy.
Yeah.
Any last piece of advice, or maybe best piece of advice for somebody who's out there and they've got a group of people they're trying to take care of, but can you talk to them, just any advice you have about them taking care of themselves and the priority in that? Give us a pearl here before we go. Got anything?
I would say, to take it full circle, I would say, taking it back to what we said at the beginning, if you're going to care for others, if you're going to lead others, if you're going to influence others, if you're going to love others, care for yourself. Care for yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that may be counterintuitive to some people, because we want to place other people above ourselves. But what I've learned, especially in this last year, is that if I don't do that, if I don't care for myself first and foremost,
right,
I'm not at my best to care for other people.
Yeah.
And what I see from the best leaders in the marketplace is the thing I see time and time and time again is I see leaders that are doing one of two things. They're either caring for themselves and in turn caring for other people, or they're not. And I would say that's it. I would say caring for yourself so that you can in fact care for other people.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, how can we get in touch with you if somebody's listening and they want to reach out to you?
Sure.
How they do that?
Yeah, the simplest way is my phone number. I don't mind giving it out, and definitely don't mind serving people any way I can. Number's 859-576-8135.
That's so great.
And other than the time I'm sleeping, I'm available. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for making yourself available to us. Love you, man. I'm so grateful
that
we had a chance to hang out.
Love you.
Thanks for listening today. I know Scott's added value to everybody. It certainly has been a treat for me to get to just even hear more of your journey today, and been huge encouragement to watch him make progress, and so cool to watch you. He's helping so many people through our coaching and things we have going on. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's a pleasure, man.
I just want to leave you with one of the things Scott said there, and our old friend John said, your friends do determine the quality and direction of your life. So hang out with some really great people this weekend. Hang out with some really great people next week. And I'm convinced that your Thanksgiving holidays that are coming up really can be great. And these next few weeks really can be an opportunity for you to assess and to have some really great relational time as you prepare for this next year. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the Randy Gravitt Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, we ask you to leave a review if you haven't already, and subscribe so you'll be alerted when we post new content. We also encourage you to share a link with your friends. Tune in Friday for another episode with a special guest leader. Now, go lead yourself first. Remember, leadership begins at home.